welcome to the show. My name is Charlton and Big C. This is Charlton and Big C Sports, coming to you worldwide on the Big C Sports Network, on the #1 network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to Big C. And them good old boys down south, I want to say bienvenidos to all of our listeners in Latin America, also across the pond in London, England, as well as Paris, France. Of course, you good old boys in Canada, we love you in Africa, the Big C tribe. But there's no one we love more than the good old boys down south, in the land of the free and the home of the brave, on a beautiful October the 16th, 2020. Bound to Deportes. Bonjour, Big C. How's it going for you good old boys down south?
Charlton, it's going wonderful down in the South. You know, today I was sitting up watching a girls' volleyball game between University of Notre Dame and University of Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
Where the ladies were out there wearing masks. So I wonder why all the male athletes can't wear masks in physical competition.
Yeah.
But I also want to extend a thank you to our frontline healthcare workers, our nurses, our doctors, our first responders. They have a mask on every day when they're treating people.
Yeah, sometimes women are just smarter than men. It's all fair in love and war. I want to say today's show is sponsored by your Northern California Cadillac dealers, home of the all-new Cadillac Escalade, the standard of the world. And when you reach out to them, test drive yours, just tell them Charlton and Big C sent you, as well as a fleet of Cadillac cars, also all around the world. Just say Google or Alexa, play Big C Sports Podcast. You will hear from our sponsors. You will hear welcome to the show. I will introduce Big C as the Mystic, and he'll do his thing from 3,000 miles away, and I really appreciate the way things are going with Big C Sports. You can follow Big C Sports on Spotify. You can follow Big C Sports on Xfinity, Comcast TV, Roku TV, Apple TV, Amazon Fire TV, and a lot of smart TVs all over the universe. But you better have a smart TV, or you'll be sitting there looking at a still picture. Big C, I love taking that pause, but I'll never pause on our Veterans Crisis Hotline. I know a lot of people are blowing right by it, but we'll never forget about them. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, as our president is running around denigrating senior citizens in America, many of our veterans are senior citizens also.
Yeah.
And we lose some 24 veterans a day, Charlton, to suicide, as well as the dozens that we lose to COVID-19 as well. But the suicide is something that we can curtail as a nation.
Yeah.
We give out the National Suicide Prevention Hotline number, Charlton, because so many of our veterans are not in great mental or physical or financial shape in America. They need help in any way they can. Unfortunately, many of those have turned to suicide, which has become a national epidemic that we need to find a way to curtail as an administration and as a country in whole. You know, think about those veterans and all that they've sacrificed for this country to be what it is today in world standing. And we're not giving that consideration back to them. This is something that we need to take a concerted effort as a country, not just for veterans, but for everyday citizens and families have lost members to suicide.
Yeah.
We as a country need to come together and help all of these people out beyond the National Suicide Prevention Hotline number.
Yeah, and that's why I love giving out Big C, 800-273-8255. That's 800-273-8255, or you can text 838-255. That's 838-255. If you're online, simply go to veteranscrisisline.net. That's veteranscrisisline.net, and you can definitely get to some help. Also, very happy to be affiliated with Valley Homes Weekly TV, On Dish TV, Direct TV, AT&T Uverse, TV 53, home of the San Francisco Giants and the Say Hey Kid, as well as a home run leader, Barry Bonds. When you reach out to him, just tell him Big C sent you. Our goal is simple: recruit 10,000 real estate agents and brokers all over this great country. Put their property listings on TV, just like car dealerships do it. Sports teams are doing it. McDonald's does it. You can watch TV and real estate work for you. 800-772-8624. That's 800-772-8624. If you're looking for opportunities in real estate, just go to bigcsports.pacwm.com. That's bigcsports.pacwm.com. Most of our loans are underwritten by Quicken Loans on the wholesale side. And we also just opened up in the state of Texas. If you're in Texas looking for work, just go to bigcsports.pacwm.com. Big C, I know POTUS, do you have the way to get around from city to city and state to state on the taxpayer dollar? I think it's called Air Force One. He's all over the place, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, American taxpayers have been footing the bill ever since he's been in office. He's talking about how well everybody's doing in this country, and yet you don't see it with over 25 million people being unemployed. We have more people unemployed in America right now than we've ever had in United States history at one time.
Yeah.
And he's talking about the economy's doing great for him.
Yeah, it is doing great for him. That's why people, if you don't like it, my parents always told me, if you don't like something, do something about it. You got to text the word vote to 26797. That's vote to 26797. And tell all your friends that Big C in the NFL said vote. You gotta vote. Make it the biggest vote in the history of the universe. If you don't vote, then don't complain. Also, all over the world, when you say play Big C Sports Podcast, download the app. It'll pop up whether it's iHeartRadio Podcast, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify. But you gotta download the app. That way you'll have it on your phone, and you can hear Big C's thoughts 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Big C, I told you. I know sometimes I talk about this guy that says, I'll be back. His name is Arnold Schwarzenegger. He's California's 38th governor, Arnold Schwarzenegger. He sounded a lot like you. I was watching him on a program last night, and he was a Republican when he was a California governor. But he was on a program with Don Lemon with CNN last night. They have a program called Unfinished Business, and for a white man who is a former governor of California to talk about race and equality in America, he's spending millions of dollars keeping polling places open in 989 counties in this great country. Big C, he's trying to help end voter suppression, and he's Caucasian. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, he's a foreigner who became an American citizen, Charlton. What he did with his organization is that they sent out letters to all the states, hoping that all the states would accept their offer. Not all states did. A lot of states turned down them funding polling stations because they want voter suppression. But it's an admirable deed that he and his organization has done, Charlton, to show that all Americans deserve the right to vote and vote freely without obstruction. Many states have accepted it. They've opened up polling stations that are being funded by this program that they set up, which is a great deed for an American citizen.
I think it's called Twitch, and it deals with voter suppression. People, if you get a chance to watch it, it's deep. And Big C, it goes back to what you and I say. I know sometimes you say that white people do certain things, and I say it's some. We need more white people like the former governor Arnold Schwarzenegger. He said when he was in politics, he had no idea how difficult it was to get people to agree on what color water fountain they have in the state capitol. It's just amazing how many times people fight. Before we get into
but
Big
he's
C,
also Austrian. He was not born under this situation, and he knew what the fight was to become governor, and he's carried that mantle since not being governor of California.
And I appreciate it takes a foreigner to side with African Americans, and people here still want to tote around with the Confederate flag. Very well said. I really appreciate Governor Arnold Schwarzenegger. As he said, I'll be back. I hope he decides to come back to the world of politics. Last night in the town halls, I thought it was disgraceful the way Donald Trump was trying to act like that abusive Archie Bunker man, and he lied all the time. He kept yelling and being condescending toward a woman, a Caucasian, probably a suburban woman, Savannah Guthrie from NBC, and he's such an exhausting ogre. And I wonder how women can put up with that garbage, because a lot of smart women don't anymore. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, you have to pay attention to the people who follow him. And to sit there and say you can't understand why people follow him, or even women follow him. They follow him in droves because there are many Americans who still think like him. Don't ever think that that's wiped away, because for everybody who thinks like you, there's always somebody who thinks opposite of you. And those are the people who believe in Trump. He didn't become president with new rhetoric, Charles. The rhetoric he's using now is the same rhetoric that he was using 4 years ago. Those people accepted and appreciated what he was saying, and they still do that. I mean, when you look at his rallies, they're full. And they're full of the people who look like him. The people who want to believe in what he says. When you look at all these radical groups that have arisen in America since he became president, all he did was took the cover off to allow these people to come out of the dark and into the light.
They come out of the dark and into the light. The VP candidate Joe Biden, I thought he did a fine job at his town hall. He talked about the COVID, how to deal with COVID, that strategy, economics, racial equality. He was very calm. And then he was asking an African-American man, did I answer your question? And if I didn't, I'll stay around when it's over and answer the question. But what I would love for Joe Biden to do, and I know people have their own thoughts about it, Big C, when they ask, are you going to pack the courts? I would say, look at what the Republicans are doing. They've been packing the Supreme Court justice and trying to push this woman, Comey Barrett, through. They've also been packing the federal judges. I'm going to look at what's going on in the Capitol and make my decision based on that. Don't just say I don't know yet, if that makes sense. Your thoughts?
But do you understand, Charles, and I'm asking you the question, what does it take to pack the Supreme Court?
It's going to take an act of Congress.
Bottom line, you just answered the question.
Yeah, well, it's okay to say that. It took me 5 seconds to say that, Big C. That's all fair and level
But think about if the media wants to act that dumb, and then the public wants to be that dumb about the question. Because if he says, I'm going to pack the court, then that's going to be the cycle of what this presidency is all about, packing the court. It's not going to be about solving COVID-19. It's not going to be solving racial inequality in America. It's not going to be about stopping the inequities that go on in our society. So why is this court issue so big when everybody knows it takes an act of Congress to do any of these things?
Well, the Republicans are doing it, and I just think bring it out. That's my opinion. Everybody has their own thought. I want to touch on one more thing before we get on to Big C's NFL football weekend. There's a lot of things going on this weekend, but there's a guy, he's an assistant U.S. Attorney General. He's leaving the Department of Justice after 36 years, and he said he's leaving because of William Barr and Donald Trump. They refuse to denounce racism unless you give them 5 or 6 days to do it. He says that Donald Trump has a lapdog, and his name is William Barr, Big Z, and he said they're crooked, and I appreciate that, but I also think it's a bit disingenuous. They know that POTUS is way down in the polls, and that you have a lot of white men that stood by and said nothing, and now they're turning against the guy they said nothing about for the last 4 years, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, there's been a dozen prosecutors from this office, the DOJ office, that have resigned in the past year because of these actions.
Yeah. I mean, it's never too late to do the right thing. I do appreciate some of these white guys for growing a spine. It's all fair and level war. Big C, I know that nobody likes football as much as a lot of people in this country, and I like it too, so that's why I want to get into Big C's NFL football games coming up this weekend. I know we've had some teams that have canceled practice, and then they restarted practice, so who knows what's going to happen by the time we all wake up tomorrow. NFL Week 6, Big C, the Denver Broncos, they're 1-3. They're at the New England Patriots that are 2-2. It's a Sunday, 1 o'clock p.m. kickoff East Coast time on CBS Sports. And think about this. Vegas has the Patriots by 10, and they can't even get through practice, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, the game is not practice. Denver will be 1-4 when this game is over. They can't decide on a quarterback. This is a team that's all beat up. You know, they beat the New York Jets, and who hasn't this year? The New England Patriots will have Cam Newton back. So they'll be almost at full strength on offense. And this is a team that's very dynamic when you look at what they can do now with the RPO that they have on their offense. Their defense has been playing outstanding.
Oh, yeah.
They should make easy work of the Denver Broncos.
I'm telling you, it's going to be good to see Cam Newton back in the pocket. I hope that everybody's healthy in New England. I know one day they say you're negative, and the other day they say you're positive, and back and forth. It's all fair and level where I just hope everybody's healthy. Big C, also, there's a team that not many people thought would be 4-1. The Chicago Bears, they are 4-1. They're at the Carolina Panthers that are 3-2. That's a Sunday 1 o'clock p.m. kickoff East Coast time on Fox Sports. And the Panthers are only favored by 1 point at home, Big C. Your thoughts?
To me, this is one of the more interesting games of the weekend when you got Carolina's Panther quarterback, two-glove Teddy Bridgewater, playing the way that he has in the past couple of weeks. He really has this offense on a roll. And when you look at Robbie Anderson, the top receiver in the NFL over the last 3 weeks, who has really responded. This was one of those New York Jets cast-offs.
Yeah.
So when you think about the players who have left the New York Jets and gone everywhere else and really helped their teams get better, when you look at what they've done defensively in Carolina this year, Groh has done a tremendous job with this team on defense. But Teddy Bridgewater has made the difference on offense. The running game has not missed a step with McCaffrey out. Matter of fact, I think they're better because they're a more power running team and they can control the ball more. Yeah.
I think they still want to have him back in the pocket of Big C. And then you have Nick Foles. He has to be more consistent, especially against that Panthers defense. They're a lot better than what their 0-2 start was. They've been on a roll. Big C, another game that has some animals in it. speaking of animals, we have the Cincinnati Bengals. They're 1-3-1. They're at the Indianapolis Colts. That's a 1 o'clock p.m. kickoff, East Coast time on Fox. Now, the Colts are favored by 7.5 points. I know their defense is very good, but they were had a little bit by Cleveland. Do you think Cincinnati has a chance? Big C, your thoughts?
They were favored a week ago against Cleveland.
Yeah.
Cincinnati, this is a test game for Cincinnati.
Yeah.
Joe Burrow has been beat up all year long.
Oh,
He's
yeah.
been sacked 22 times this year thus far. And when you talk about Indianapolis going into last game, had the top defense in the NFL, I think that they're going to rebound against this Cincinnati team, and Joe Burrow potentially can have a rough, long day against this Indianapolis defense. Phillip Rivers on the flip side, he has to get off the snide. He has 5 interceptions on the season. He cannot afford to go in and throw 2 more interceptions against the Cincinnati Bengals. Otherwise, he might find out what the clipboard feels like on the sideline.
Yeah, it's probably not a good feeling, the clipboard, Big C, especially when they have your finger stuck in it. We have another game with some animals, Big C. The Detroit Lions, man, they're 1-3. I guess they did a good job getting rid of Caldwell, huh, Big C? After he won 9 games, they're 1-3 on the season. They are at the Jacksonville Jaguars. They are 1-4. It's a Sunday 1 p.m. kickoff, East Coast time on Fox Sports. And the line out of Vegas is they have the Lions by 3.5 on the road. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, this is a team that now has to go outside and play on some grass. Detroit are an inside team. And I'm not so sure about their offense. They don't have a really solid running game. When you think about Matthew Stafford, he's been up and down, inconsistent at quarterback this year. That's the one victory that you're talking about.
Yeah.
But the Jacksonville Jaguars, this is a team that's on the rebuild. Gunnar Minshew has been hot and cold. When you think about the quarterbacks down in Florida, between he and Fitzpatrick, you never know if they're going to throw 3 touchdowns or 2 interceptions in a game.
Yeah.
And this is one of those games when you look at Minshew, if he's hot and consistent and can complete over 75% of his passes, Jacksonville will win. Otherwise, Detroit may luck up on their second win of the season.
Yeah, on defense, they have a bend but don't break style, but they might be in a shootout of that game. But it's just hard to see a team from Detroit that plays in a dome going down into the humidity and winning that game. But we'll see what happens there. We got the Atlanta Falcons. I know they've had some changes in Atlanta, and if they can get on the right side of the cloud, if that makes any sense to you, they're 0-5. It's like the universe served up a good measure. The Vikings are only 1-4. Can you imagine 2 of the NFL's most storied, media-hyped quarterbacks? You have Kirk Cousins, and you have your friend Matt Ryan. They're 1-9 combined. With the Vikings and the Falcons, doesn't make any sense. It's a Sunday 1 p.m. kickoff, East Coast time on Fox Sports, and the Vikings are favored by 4.5. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, I guess the one big financial plus out of this game is if you look at the salaries of the 2 starting quarterbacks combined, they're making $80 million this year.
Yeah.
$80 million between the 2 starting quarterbacks, Matt Ryan and your cousin up there in Minnesota.
Yeah.
So, but this game is going to come down to which team has the best running game in this game. When you look at what Minnesota was doing last week to Seattle, they were dominating the game on the ground. Then all of a sudden they turned to your cousin and they ended up losing the game.
Yeah.
Same thing with Atlanta last week. Todd Gurley had 119 yards on the ground, but yet Matt Ryan decided he wanted to throw the ball and be the game star, and we saw the outcome of that.
Yeah.
So I think with Raheem Morris taking over in Atlanta, he understands that they have to control the clock.
Yeah.
And that's giving Todd Gurley and other running backs more opportunities in Atlanta. We know that Cook got a little banged up last week.
Yep.
His health is going to be a question, but they still rushed for 200 yards against Seattle.
Yeah.
So I'm looking at this game from an offensive perspective of who controls the ball on the ground.
Yeah, it's got to be a running game. If it's not a running game, then passing the game. Hey, we're going to see quarterbacks passing the ball that are making $80 million, and they have 1 win among the 2 of them. Isn't that called white skin privilege, if that makes sense to you, Big C? We have another great game. We have the Ravens, some yard birds going around that learn how to fly. The Baltimore Ravens, they are 4-1 at the Philadelphia Eagles, Big C. They are 1-3-1. That's a Sunday 1 o'clock p.m. kickoff, East Coast time on CBS Sports. And the Ravens are getting 7.5 on the road, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, when you look at Philadelphia, I mean, this is a team that's downtrodden right now and it really doesn't have a direction. It's almost like a ship without a runner.
Yeah.
That's where they are. Carson Wentz has been totally inconsistent. You know, he's gotten a lot of praise about his play and denigration about his teammates, saying that they need to step up and help him.
Yeah.
No, he needs to step up and help them.
Yep.
That's what he needs to do. He needs to get the ball to his receivers on time. He needs to understand that Miles Sanders is an outstanding running back and utilize him a little more. But when we look at Baltimore, this team defensively is dominant, and they will be all over Carson Wentz. He will have a long, tough day. He'll fill with that natural grass that that stadium feels like on several occasions.
Yeah.
When you think about Baltimore's offense, Lamar Jackson wants to throw the ball efficiently.
Yeah.
He doesn't really want to run with the ball. I know everybody got, hyped about his running last year, but he wants to show everybody that he's a quarterback that can deliver the ball to his receivers, and he'll spend a lot more time throwing than he does running on Sunday.
Yeah, and I want to work on your sound on the microphone, Big C. We'll try to get that worked out also. We have another, what used to be a great game, but these teams combined are 1 win and 10 losses. That's incredible. Washington football team, I'm going to call them the Washington Red Tails. They are 1-5, and they're at the 0-5 New York Giants. It's amazing that the quarterback that has a win got benched. The quarterback that does not have a win is still starting. It's a Sunday 1 p.m. kickoff East Coast time on Fox Sports. And Vegas has the Giants going in by 2.5. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, the last win that the New York Giants had was against the Washington Football Club.
Yeah.
And this is a team that's rudderless also when you think about where they are at the quarterback situation. They're still going to go with Kyle Allen because Ron Rivera's in love with him, and Alex Smith is the number 2 guy. So you're hoping that Allen can at least stay healthy in this game and not force Alex Smith back into the game. But the offensive line in Washington right now, it takes longer to sneeze than the quarterback gets protected behind that offensive line. They find the coach on a regular basis.
Yeah.
So this is one of those games where, when you think about the Giants, that they spent the last several years trying to upgrade their offensive line,
Yep.
and now they're going to be facing one of the better defensive lines in pro football.
Yeah.
This game is a toss-up, but I still like the Giants in this game.
You like the Giants? Well, we'll see what happens when you're playing a team that doesn't have a name yet. You should get a win. It's all fair and love and war. What might be the greatest game, and we're still going to try to pump your microphone up, Big C, the greatest game, in my opinion, at least potentially, coming up this weekend, you have the Cleveland Browns. They're 4-1. They're at the Pittsburgh Steel-Curtain Steelers that are 4-0. It's a Sunday, 1 p.m., East Coast time on CBS Sports. And believe it or not, the team that wins this might be able to challenge for the division championship. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, whichever team wins this game will have the best record in the division when you think about it. I know a lot of accolades are given to the Ravens, but the Steelers are the only team in the division that are undefeated.
Yeah.
And they're trying to go to 5-0 on the season for the first time in franchise history.
Yeah.
So they have a lot on the line. Their defense has been playing outstanding. Claypool had a sensational game last week. The rookie wide receiver out of Notre Dame via Canada, was outstanding. Ben Roethlisberger has not made any mistakes this year.
No.
Juju Smith-Schuster is a better receiver now that he has a complimentary guy on the other side in Claypool. The running game with Connors and Snell has been outstanding.
Yep.
The defense is as good as advertised as ever. But you got to look at Cleveland. One of the most dominant running games in the NFL. And that defensive line led by Myles Garrett, we all know what happened with he and Rudolph last year.
Yeah.
But he's going to be playing inspirational coming up against the Steelers once again.
Yeah.
Ben Roethlisberger may be a sitting target in the pocket.
Yeah, the Steelers are only getting 3 at home. This is a game. I can't wait to see this game. If Cleveland's going to have to run and not, if Baker Mayfield, remember, he's not there to make commercials. He's there to play football. They may be able to bring it down to a field goal. I still like the Steelers in that game, but we'll see what happens. Another big game for so many big reasons, especially in Tennessee. You have the Houston Texans, they're only 1-4. They're at the Tennessee Titans 3-1 that are coming off of a big win against the Buffalo Bills. This game is Sunday. It's a 1 p.m. kickoff East Coast time on CBS Sports. And Las Vegas has the Titans favored by 3.5 in this game. Are you buying that, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, the Titans are actually 4-0, and I do like the Titans in this game. But people don't really realize how good a quarterback Ryan Tannehill has been in the NFL over the last 17 games.
Yeah.
He is 13-4 as a starter with the Tennessee Titans. And no one in the NFL has a better run than what he has had in the last 17 games. He has that horse in the backfield named Henry who
Yep.
can run over anybody, who has all the defensive backs in the NFL having nightmares now after what he did to Josh Norman.
Yeah, that wasn't nice.
But I like the Tennessee Titans in this game, Charlton. Their offense is outstanding. They play defense with anybody in the NFL, and Mike Vrabel has that mentality that the team is carrying. I don't think that the Houston Texans have enough to get over the hump in this game on either side of the football.
Yeah.
I like the Titans remaining undefeated.
Yeah, Houston's not that good at stopping the run, Big C. We'll see what happens there. One more game I want to get on before we get into the Big C pause. You have a team, my goodness, it seems like when I look at some of these games coming up, you have the New York Jets. They're 0-5. They are winless. You have the two teams in the biggest city in the country, New York. They're winless, Big C. The Jets are 0-5. At the red-hot Miami Dolphins that are 2-3. It's a Sunday 4:05 p.m. kickoff East Coast time on CBS Sports. And the Dolphins are getting 9.5 out of Vegas, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, when you look at the Jets' offensive team, Charlton, they're starting a couple guys in the backfield that might be in an old folks' home when you're thinking about Joe Flacco and Frank Gore.
Yeah.
Frank Gore should be allowed to run anybody any
Yeah.
longer in the NFL
Yeah.
as long as he's been around. If that's the best that you can do with running back, then you're just conceding to your opponent.
Yeah.
The Jets, just in the season soon. Miami's on a hot streak. They went out there and had some fish last week in San Francisco and ran all up and down the field and
Yeah.
picked apart the 49ers defense like
Yeah.
they're picking bones out of a cart. And so they're going to do
Yeah.
the same thing to the Jets.
Yeah.
They're gonna trounce them.
Yeah, it's all fair and love of war. I think the 49ers are still licking their wounds. Garoppolo's looking pretty good, that $137 million, because Colin Kaepernick, he can't play anymore based on what the good old boys say. Speaking of the good old boys, we're two good old boys on the Big C Sports Show. We're going to take what's called the Big C pause, and we'll be back in just a moment. All right, we are back from the Big C pause, also known as the Big C timeout. You can follow Big C Sports 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on the #1 podcast network in the universe, iHeartRadio Podcast. You can follow Big C Sports on Apple Podcasts. You can follow Big C Sports on Google Podcasts. There's so many apps, and I really appreciate the way things are growing with Big C Sports. Big C, I think the next game, the Green Bay Packers, they're 4-0 at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They're 3-2. This might be, in the eyes of the TV people, the #1 game coming up this week because they want to put Brady against Rodgers. But I don't know if it's going to hold up that well. We'll see. It's a Sunday, 4:25 p.m. East Coast time kickoff on Fox Sports. And the Packers are undefeated. They're playing the best football, in my opinion, in the NFL. And they're only favored by 1 down on the heat and humidity. Big C, your thoughts?
The only thing that has similarity in this game is that it's the battle of the Bays.
Yeah.
But there's a night and day difference. I mean, here it is when you're looking at the Tampa Bay offense. It's been beat up. They haven't had consistency from their receiving core this year because they've all been injured at one time or another. The defense has been solid for them, but they're facing a Green Bay team with an Aaron Rodgers who's having a career year thus far in the first 5 weeks of the NFL season.
Yeah.
He has not thrown an interception yet to go along with his 12 touchdown pass.
Yeah.
And he's going to improve on those numbers again this week. Devontae Adams, should be back at receiver. Aaron Jones has just been killing him out of the backfield.
Yeah.
And that pass rush of the Packers will be all over Tom Brady, who had a tough night versus the Bears.
Unless there are no hanging chads, Al Gore and Bush Big C down in Florida, I don't know how the Tampa Bay can stay within a touchdown of Green Bay. Unless there's hanging chads, and hanging chads can kind of trip people up sometimes. It's all fair and love and war. Big C, a big game on the West Coast for so many reasons, irrespective of the records. You have the L.A. Rams coming in, and they're mad. They still get mad when they get robbed going up to Buffalo, Big C. They're 4-1 on the season. They're at the defending NFC champion San Francisco 49ers that are 2-3 on the season. It's a Sunday night game, 8:20 p.m. kickoff East Coast time on NBC Sports. The great Al Michaels is doing the game in Collinsworth. And the Rams are only favored by 3 by a team that gave up the most points in the history of Levi Stadium, the 49ers. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, did anybody call San Francisco and tell them that Aaron Donald was come to town? That he had an attitude
They didn't
all
answer
year
the
long?
phone. They didn't answer the phone.
San Francisco offensive line seems like not been able to block anybody as
Yeah.
of late. Their
Yeah.
quarterbacks have been getting plummeted.
Yeah.
That running game has been figured out by most defenses in the NFL. And that secondary in San Francisco looks awful shabby. And
Yeah.
Jared Goff right now is catching his stride. He showed the reason why he was the number one pick in the draft 5 years ago.
Yeah.
As of late, he's gotten his receiving core back healthy. Robert Woods is having a dynamic year along with Cooper Kupp.
Yeah.
The Rams have a solid, strong running game. And so the San Francisco 49ers, Charlton, will get beat up on for a second consecutive week and walk home with it. I don't know if the 49ers have a tail between their leg or not, but that hat will be down over their brow.
You know, if you can't beat a Dolphin, it's hard. What do you do when a Ram comes running at you at full speed? It's all fair in Love and War. $137 million, and Colin Kaepernick can't even get a phone call. It's all fair in Love and War. The Kansas City Chiefs are 4-1 at the Buffalo Bills. Now, this, in my opinion, is the second game of the week. It's a Monday night game at 5 p.m. kickoff East Coast time on Fox Sports, and the NFL Network all has the game. The Chiefs are favored by 4, and I think the Buffalo Bills are a little bit ego-wounded from getting beat up by Henry last week. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, you're talking about the top 2 yardage passing quarterbacks in the AFC facing off. Mahomes versus Allen.
Yeah.
You know, this is a game where Kansas City needs to reestablish themselves as a passing team, well, a running team, Charlton. They got to exploit the middle of that Bills defense. They show that they're vulnerable to that.
Yeah.
But also Ryan Tannehill picked apart your secondary last week. And we know that Mahomes, when he has time with that receiving core that he has, can do the same to anybody else.
Yep.
Buffalo Bills, you know, they got to figure out what they're going to be identity-wise.
Yeah.
When you put pressure on Allen and force him out of the pocket consistently, he has problems. And that's what Tennessee did to him last week. Kansas City needs to shore up their defense. They gave up a lot of deep balls.
Yep.
They need a healthy defensive line to put some pressure on Allen. I like Kansas City in this game. I can't see them losing 2 in a row.
Yeah, I can't see them losing 2 in a row, even if they have to go on the road to get it done. But it's all fair and level. War, Big C. Final game, and again, I'm glad that Dak Prescott is doing so much better. At least he's tweeting out on social media that he's doing much better after he had the surgery. The Arizona Cardinals are 3-2. Kyler Murray is kind of getting his groove back, Big C. They're at the Dallas Cowboys 2-3. Does Andy Dalton have the same arm that Prescott has? I don't think so, but we'll find out. It's a Monday kickoff at 8:15 p.m. East Coast time on ESPN. And the Cardinals are going into Dallas, and they're only getting a point and a half. Something's fishy going on in Texas, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Andy Dalton has been a proven leader in the NFL, Charlton. He has taken teams to the playoffs on several occasions.
Yeah.
So I know it's not the same athleticism that Dak Prescott possessed, but now we're going to find out if Mike McCarthy can really cook.
Yeah.
Will he get Ezekiel Elliott back into the mold? You know, will he feed him the football and let him try to control the game on the ground and take some time off the clock?
Yeah.
Because we know that Dallas defense could not stop a nosebleed right now with a whole bushel of cops.
Yeah.
They just don't have a chance. I mean, I've never seen so many scared people playing defense in the NFL in my life.
Yeah.
Kyler Murray brings something to the table that Dallas doesn't like, a running quarterback.
Yeah.
And so he and Cameron Drake can put havoc on that Dallas defense if they decide to keep the ball on the ground. But I don't think they have anybody in the secondary that can cover Hopkins either.
Yeah.
So when you think about the Cardinals, they'll be without Chandler Jones, who's the best pass rusher in the NFL. He tore his bicep last week, so he's out for the season.
Yep.
But I see the Cardinals winning 2 consecutive games against these teams, Charlton.
Yeah. It should be a great week of NFL football. Who knows if it's COVID positive one day, COVID positive the next day, you never know. But I wish everybody well, and that's Big C's thoughts on what's happening in the world of the NFL. I do want to also take time to give our thoughts and prayers to a former, actually Hall of Famer, great San Francisco 49er, lost his life because Donald Trump lied. And I'll always believe that when he knew how dangerous this virus was, and he said nothing. He's still saying it'll go away because he doesn't know how to tell the truth. But my thoughts and prayers go to the family of the Hall of Famer Fred Dean, passed at 68 years old, which is a young life. And Dean was a second-round draft pick out of Louisiana Tech, Big C, back in the day down south. I believe Terry Bradshaw's alma mater. And he was drafted by the Chargers in 1975. He played 7 seasons with the Chargers. And all, Dean had 11 years in the NFL, winning 2 Super Bowls with the 49ers in 1981 in 1984, earning the NFC Defensive Player of the Year award in 1981. And he posted a career high. I think he had 17 and a half sacks in 1983, Big C. Your thoughts?
You know, Fred was a great defensive lineman, Charlton. He was part of that great defensive line they had down there in the Chargers during that Eric Coryell area.
Yeah.
Of Gary Johnson and Louis Kelcher. I mean, an outstanding team, Charlton. They just could never win the big game in the end. He was traded later to the San Francisco 49ers for his second-round draft pick.
Yeah.
You know, he won a couple Super Bowls with the 49ers, you know, there in San Francisco. It's unfortunate that he lost his life to COVID-19. I mean, this should be a wake-up call to the NFL to show how serious the disease is.
Yeah.
That former players are dying from COVID-19, Charlton. So you're going to have to protect the players even more diligently that are playing today.
Yeah, and I know we talked about different franchises that were, you know, they were put on pause. The New England Patriots, they canceled football practice today due to COVID-19. Isn't that something? They canceled the day because of COVID-19. And then at the same time, the Atlanta Falcons, they reopened their facilities. They were also shut down because of COVID-19. Big C, as a former player, we hear what just happened to Fred Dean. You have the Indianapolis Colts. They closed their facilities after a COVID-19 outbreak. And then they say, whoa, wait a minute, too much money to be lost. Now the NFL is saying within 24 hours later that there were 4 false positives. Sometimes people just lie to get what they want. Do you trust when they're saying everybody's positive? Oh, no, everybody's negative within 24 hours, Big C, your thoughts?
The NFL is an entity, Charlton, and you need to understand that they do not operate the way the rest of society does. They create what they want to create image-wise.
Yeah.
And they're not concerned about anybody other than their image. When you got a bunch of billionaire owners that dictate what's happening to their commissioner, who is a puppet. Roger Goodell does a good job at times. He does a terrible job at times.
Yeah.
But this is all about the financial ends at the end of the day.
Yeah, it really is, because if the NBA, from what I understand, they had no positives and therefore no false positives. This is the same NFL with the concussion, Big C, with Ben Amala. We talked about that. But they, at a time, I think they had 77 positive players, and then within a short period of time, they said, oh, no, those are all false positives. Are they using some guy at the gas station to do these COVID tests for the NFL, Big C? Your thoughts?
You know, they're a private entity, Charlton. They release what they want to release. You always talk about the HIPAA law.
Yeah.
So the NFL is operating under that.
Yeah.
They can release or they don't have to release. So
Yeah.
they choose not to release what they don't want to.
Yeah, I just say all these players, get your own independent test. Fred Dean, God bless him, and a lot of football players are being told, hey, no, you're not really positive after all. We need you to start the game coming up this weekend. There's a young girl when it comes to COVID-19 down in Texas, Big C. Her name is Anika Cherublu, and she's a teenager in Texas getting national recognition for her work on a potential treatment for COVID-19, and she's already getting paid, Big C. She's a 14-year-old freshman at Independence High School in Frisco, Texas, and I'm so proud of young people that read and study. She's being held as the country's top young scientist. She actually won a $25,000 for her potential COVID-19 breakthrough. The brilliant student says she developed this while she was in the 8th grade, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, you know, this is a conversation we have all the time when you talk about coaches and putting players in jeopardy and all of that. And I always tell you it's the responsibility of the parents, not the coaches. And this is a clear indicator of that. But this young girl is going by the guidance of her parents, where education is first and foremost.
Yeah.
And you see the advancements that she has made in world science.
Yeah.
As an 8th grader and now a freshman in high school, where she's on the cusp of cracking the code for COVID-19, Charlton.
Yeah.
This is because of parental involvement, not some coach.
Yeah, not some coach, and not shutting up and dribbling. She's doing her studies too. Congratulations. I told you women are amazing, and we just got to support women more often. I know men tend to get the sexist treatment, but we really got to support everybody. I want to also stay down in the state of Texas. We talked about a high school girl, 14-year-old, Big C. Think about this. College football, the University of Texas football, their questions surrounding the future of the Eyes of Texas, that song being played at Texas games, it swirled around since the summer when players spoke out about his racist undertones, you know what Donald Trump does, and several players called for it to stop being played at the school's band and dropped from the universities altogether. So Texas athletic director, I think his name is Chris Del Conte, and Coach Tom Herman, he met with players on Wednesday. They told the players that they're expected to remain on the athletic fields during the song. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, I mean, here's Texas, the last state to denounce slavery in America.
Yeah.
And yet their state song for the university has slavery undertones in the song, Charlton.
Yeah.
And so here's the players who are speaking out, just like players at the University of Mississippi about the flag and other states, Charlton. And they're saying that these players have to stand there in 2020 and deal with that.
Yeah.
That they have no say-so in it. If these players have any stones whatsoever, just walk off the damn field like you say you want to do at the end of the game.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're complacent with it.
Yeah, they're complacent with it, and people got to stand up for their rights. You know, I want to just tell people, no matter what you're doing, it's not easy to take a stand. Sometimes people are going to hate you. They're going to laugh at you. They're going to say that you're a troublemaker, especially when you're black. Sometimes they may even call you a terrorist group when you're standing up for your rights. But you got to stand up for your rights, and I want to make sure that we get that out. Big C, before we get into Big Steve's thoughts on some big-time players and some big college football games, I want to tell people, when you're hungry, make sure you order the Big C Burger. It's a tasty burger. It really tastes tasty, and it has exotic meats. You can order that on participating restaurants from private menus. Tonight we have number 18, SMU. They're 4-0. They're at Tulane. That's 2-2. It's a 5 o'clock p.m. kickoff already on ESPN. And then we have number 13, BYU, at 4-0 on the season, and they're at Houston for tonight's game. But I want to jump past those games because I want to go to the big game. The big game, in my opinion, for so many reasons, is you have the Alabama Crimson Tide, Big C, and you have the Georgia Bulldogs. And based on what polls you're looking at, you have teams, 1 and 2 or 2 versus 3, etc. But Nick Saban, just like the NFL, where they were saying he was positive a couple of days ago, now they're saying he's negative, and he will be Bryant-Denny Stadium for the big game against Georgia. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, this is the face of college football. As long as you have 2 consecutive negative tests, Charlton, you can participate in an outing. And I don't understand why they're not saying quarantine, but Nick will be at this game, and he will be a very integral part of the game. I mean, Nick being on the sideline makes a difference.
Yeah.
This is a guy who can make decisions, that other backup coaches would not make during that game.
Yeah.
And the immensity of this game means a lot. The winner of this game goes into the college football playoff.
Yeah.
That's how important this game is. And potentially you'll have at least 2 schools from the SEC make it to the college football playoff. But, Nick has never lost a game to any of his former assistants. He's 21-0. Kirby Smart has been smarting for the past several years because Nick has been one of the coaches that has kept him out of the college football playoffs.
Yeah.
So this is a huge game, the first time in 11 years that they've met in the regular season.
Yeah, and Alabama is getting they're getting a 4-point favorite in that game. It's on grass. It's an 8 o'clock kickoff East Coast time on CBS Sports. Whether Nick is positive or negative, I think he's the same age as the late Fred Dean. And I know people say it affects African Americans more. Maybe it's the blood type, whatever it is, I don't know. But it's amazing when players are told, Coach is positive, can't be here. Oh, no, Coach, you're not positive now? Oh, no, Coach is negative. So he's going to be on the sideline around these young kids. It's all fair and love and war, Big C. Number 1, Clemson is 4-0. They're at Georgia Tech. That's 2-2. It's a noontime kickoff on ABC Sports. And Clemson's favored by 27.5. Trevor Lawrence probably will be the number 1 pick coming out of Clemson to whatever NFL team that can't win games this year. Give me your feeling. Do they have a letdown after the Miami game was really ballyhooped and hyped, Big C, but they kind of put away with Miami with relative ease. Your thoughts?
Well, that game was ballyhooed and hyped for Miami, trying to get them inspired.
Yeah.
Clemson goes out week in and week out with the same status for the last several years, Charlton, ever since they won their first national championship, and even before that, the year before that was Deshaun Watson. So Clemson has been consistent. They've heard all the newspaper and all the media talk about their opponents and how challenging a game will be.
Yep.
But Clemson is Clemson. This is one of the most talented teams in the country athletically. And so they're going to go out and make easy work of Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech is in their second year of learning a new offense under Coach Collins. They just don't have the firepower or the athleticism to compete with Clemson yet.
Yeah. Pittsburgh is 3-2. They're at number 12. Miami 3-1. It's a noontime kickoff on the ACC network. It's a grass surface. And Miami's favored by 13.5. Is Miami still as good as they were playing before they got beat down by Clemson, or will they just keep sliding because they really have to have their ego bruised when they went up against Clemson? Big C, your thoughts?
Well, I don't know if they got the ego bruise. They just found out how good Clemson really was. It's a litmus test anytime you play Clemson.
Yeah.
Is that you try to hold on and stay as close as you can. You really don't expect to win when you play Clemson. Pittsburgh has been one of those teams that's been up and down. They've been very inconsistent. De'Aaron King did not have a good game last week against that Clemson defense.
Yep.
Hopefully he can rebound this week for Miami and get them back in their winning ways. They really need an outstanding season from him.
Yeah, they really do, Big C. I want to go to the Smokey and the Bandit game. You have Kentucky 1-2 at number 18, Tennessee. Tennessee is 2-1. It's a noontime kickoff on the SEC network. And Tennessee's favored by 6. And do you think they'll have at least 6 mason jars to pass around in the locker room, Big C?
Well, Garantano got throttled a little bit last week against Georgia's defense. So Tennessee is looking to rebound. They're not going to face that same type of defense in this game, Charlton, against Kentucky. Kentucky is not the same team that they were last year. I look for Tennessee to rebound and get back on their winning streak.
Yeah, it's a lot of good things going on down in the SEC. There's another school that plays up north, and they haven't played in a while. They've had a couple of things on pause. Notre Dame, they're playing Louisville, which is 1-3 coming in at number 4. Notre Dame, that's 3-0, but they haven't played in a while. Big C. It's a 2:30 kickoff on NBC Sports, and Notre Dame's favored by 17. And this is the only team I think on the schedule that has a chance of hanging with Clemson. In my opinion, Big C, your thoughts?
Notre Dame has too much talent for the inconsistent talent of Louisville.
Yeah.
Louisville has to get Cunningham off to a good game. Otherwise, they'll just be blown out by Notre Dame. And Notre Dame is just loaded with talent. Ian Book, has arrived as bona fide leader in Notre Dame. But across the board, they just have too much talent for Louisville.
I want to get you to a game. It's also a South game. Number 6, North Carolina. They're 3-0 on the Mac Brown. They're at Florida State 1-3. Man, those teams have really turned around on the diving board, if that makes sense to you. It's a 7:30 kickoff East Coast time on ABC Sports on a grass surface. And North Carolina's favored by 13.5. Mac Brown's got those good old boys playing, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, North Carolina hung, I believe it was 59 points last week on Virginia.
Yeah.
Florida State has been an up-and-down team that got beat up by Georgia Tech last week. Like we said, Georgia Tech is only in their second year of learning a pro-style offense, and yet they throttled Florida State last week. So Florida State is on their second quarterback. They're still trying to figure out that offense. And so Norvell has not gotten them going, but North Carolina should make easy work of Florida State. This is not the Florida State of the 90s with Bobby Bowden.
No, they're not the Florida State of Bobby Bowden, because if they're there, they'd be wide right. And I believe, and I might be wrong, I believe that Bobby Bowden just got out of the hospital. I believe it's Bobby Bowden. I might be wrong. He was dealing with COVID-19, and he was dealing with some other issues too, and I think it's the right name. I hope I'm not wrong about that, but I just wish him well. Have you heard about that too, Big C? Your thoughts?
Yeah, he was released from the hospital. He's dealing with COVID-19. Bobby Bowden's in his early 90s. So he has compounding health conditions, but he did get out of the hospital. So,
yeah.
Praises to him and his family.
Praises to him and his family. And then final game, I know it doesn't make that much of a difference with what goes on in the world of college football, but I just want people to be healthy going through all of these games, Big C. I know we talk about the Pac-12 having to get, a team in, and it may be USC or Oregon. Those are the teams that are favored to win that conference. But I want to take you back to one game tonight, and I talked about it earlier. It's the BYU Cougars. I know they don't play in a conference in football, but they are 4-0 in the season, and they're playing at Houston, which is also undefeated. That's 1-0. And also, SMU out of Dallas, they're ranked 18 in the country. They're 4-0. Now, I think we're going to get a Pac-12 champion into the series, but if they try to do the shenanigans again, Big 12 is out. Would BYU or SMU be that at-large team to bring that kind of mystery into the BCS? I know we're kind of far out, but give me your thoughts on those teams.
Well, I don't know if BYU would be the team that's let in. I know they're undefeated. SMU would be part of that group of 5 because of the conference that they're in.
Yeah.
That would get in if they were to stay undefeated. I'm not so sure about a Pac-12 team making it. You got to realize the Pac-12 have a limited schedule of 6 games on the slate. That's before they start the season. because of COVID-19 and you only play 5 games in the Pac-12, and you have other conferences that have played between 8 and 11 games. They're going to tend more for those teams, Charlton, that have played 8 to 11 games. And the Pac-12 is trying to get in by playing 9 a.m. games. And so I don't think they're going to have the consistency out there to make the college football playoff.
No, I don't want you to do what Rudy Giuliani is doing and trying to block the vote. U.S. intelligence, they've had some Russian agents working with Donald Trump, his attorney Rudy Giuliani, to spread information about the Bidens to try to influence the election again. Isn't that crazy, Big C? I know a lot of people are just focused on who's going to win the game, but it's just so crazy that we've been talking about things for about a year and a half now, and sometimes people say, oh, those guys don't know what they're talking about, but we've been telling that Rudy Giuliani is crooked. Isn't it now the intelligence agency saying the same thing? Big C, your thoughts?
Well, they told the White House last year about Rudy Giuliani. The White House still... Trump only wants misinformation. He only wants to hear things that make him feel good or look good, Charlton. And the media perpetuates that.
Yeah.
Because they cover the story.
Yeah, they cover the story. But I believe in telling the story like Walter Cronkite, just the facts, baby, and I love bringing that up. Also, I want people to know before we cover some baseball, Big C, in the final 10 minutes of our program, I'm asking people to get out and vote. It's so important. I know they're always talking about some type of voting machine went down in the state of Virginia. They're having some voter suppression down in Texas where the judge is being told that you cannot obstruct the vote or you cannot close certain polling boxes. I've heard both stories, yes or no, on that. For the first time in 40 years, there is no voter protection for voters. It expired in 2018. Donald Trump did not re-sign it into law. Now, Trump wants poll watchers. Republicans use that to intimidate black and brown voters. It happened back in 1981 for Election Day to suppress the vote, and that's when POTUS said for the Proud Boys to stand by, Big C. He was telling the playbook they've already used back in 1981, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, my thoughts is, Charlton, you tell me, why do white people want to make it so hard for people of color to vote?
Well, I think sometimes people just got bad intentions, Big C. That's why we got to stand up and vote. And I know no other sports program is going to tell people about that the way that we do, and I really appreciate the way we've been doing it. I want to touch on...
You think sometimes people have bad intentions? When the Voting Rights Act was stricken down in the Supreme Court, Charlton.
Yeah.
We got 8 white justices, and it was stricken down in the Supreme Court. Voting rights have always been fought against people of color from white people, Charlton. I mean, it states it in the Constitution that all American citizens have the right to vote. But as we look across the country in voter suppression, voter obstruction, it is white people that are doing it. They're not black people out there putting up voter obstruction and voter suppression. They're not white governors out there blocking it. It's not white lieutenant governors out there blocking it, Charlton. These are white people. These are racists that don't want black people and people of color to have a say in American society or participate equally.
Yeah, but there's also white people on the side of righteousness and doing the right thing under the law, too.
Those white people, you can always stomp for them. I'm talking about the white people that are stopping it. Because those white people you say that are on the other side are not stopping it, Charlton. It is the white people that are stopping it, period.
Well, I disagree with you. You can always have your opinion if you want. If you don't have the ability to see that there are people on your side, then I don't know what to say to you. But I want to look at Major League Baseball, the 2020 playoffs. Randy Arozarena, Big C, Tampa Bay Rays, a rookie sensation, ties a Major League Baseball record with 6 postseason home runs. No player in baseball has seen the Stars ascend in October quite as much as Randy's been doing it, Big C. A relative unknown player heading into the playoffs. He's taken the American league by storm, Big C. He entered Game 5 of the ALCS, hitting .442 with a ridiculous slugging of .907 and a slugging percentage, Big C. Your thoughts?
I mean, he's having an outstanding year, Charlton, and getting to the playoffs to tie an ALCS record, Charlton, for home runs by a former Tampa Ray to do that. Avon Langora, who set that record back in, I believe, 2008 when he had 6 home runs. But he has an opportunity to break that record, Charlton, and get the Rays into the World Series. They're just one game away from that, and they can close it out tonight.
Yeah, and I would love to see Houston and Tampa go to Game 7. I would love to see the Dodgers and also the Braves go to Game 7. But I want to tell you something. I'm not saying that we're any more prescient than anybody else that has a crystal ball. But last night I was asking you, how far can Roberts ride Clayton Kershaw in this game against the Braves for them to have a chance? And I thought get him out by 5. I said even 4 or 5. You can Google it on the show. I think you said get him out by 6. Well, it was in the 6th inning that they started banging him around the park, Big C. And I know the Dodgers organization, they believe in what they call, whatever numbers they want to use to figure out what a player is going to do. But he has, in my opinion, he's just shell-shocked when it comes to closing out in the playoffs. He may be fine in the regular season, but Clayton Kershaw is going to cost Dave Roberts his position because they're going to want to blame someone. They're going to blame the man of color as the manager as opposed to Kershaw as to the reason if the Dodgers get knocked out. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, I mean, you can't take anything away from Atlanta. I mean, what the Dodgers did in Game 4, Game 3 and staying in the series, they were not able to do last night. Turnabout's fair play. They scored first in the game, so Clayton Kershaw was looking good.
Yeah.
But all of a sudden, Acuna got hot, and he had the 4 hits, the 2 home runs last night, and it wasn't just Kershaw that he hit the home runs off of.
Yeah.
I mean, they had an outstanding game when you think about the Atlanta Braves. You got to sing their praise.
Yeah.
In Major League Baseball, just because you have a big name doesn't mean anything. You talked about the young man from the Rays setting a Major League record for home runs.
Yep.
In the playoffs with 6. And then you see what the Atlanta Braves have done. They only lost 1 game.
Yeah.
In the playoffs this year.
That's
so
amazing.
1 game.
Yeah.
And so the Dodgers is just another one of their victims. They're playing ball. They're going to be in the World Series.
Yeah, they're Atlanta, they're such a young team, and the Dodgers they won the West, I think, the last 7 years in a row now. And Atlanta, they look like the teams that Bobby Cox used to have. They have good pitching, they have good hitting, and they're a tough out. I still pull them for the West Coast until it's over, Big C, but it's all fair and love and war. I want to just make sure that people get out and vote. Don't worry about how it's going to happen and who's going to win. Just get out and make this a big vote. I listened to this singer. Her name is Cardi B, Big C, and she sings this song. You and I talk about catfish all the time. She sings a song about a bottom feeder. I was Googling bottom feeder in her song, and all I could find were fish that swim around the bottom of the lake. That makes sense to your thoughts?
Well, they clean up the bottom of the lake beds and of the river shelf, and that's what a bottom feeder is.
Yeah.
But, that's not a good tasting fish all the time.
Yeah, it's a very loving word. NBA, Big C, we assume that all of the superstars, all of them, are 100% healthy next season because of medical science. I'm going to ask you your thoughts. Who do you think is going to be the best player in the NBA? And I'm going to give you a couple of names. You got Luka Doncic, you have Steph Curry, you have Kevin Durant, you have Giannis, LeBron James, Kawhi Leonard, and then Anthony Davis. That's like an all-star roster for the Hall of Fame coming up, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, in looking at that scenario, that would be like coming asking me which one of my kids is the favorite.
Yeah.
And I got a lot when it comes to that.
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking about an all-star cast of players.
Yeah.
I mean, and when you look at that role, several of those players have been MVPs in the league. And you talk about Luka Doncic, who had probably statistically the second or third best year in the NBA this past season.
Yeah, yep.
As far as being a young player. Steph Curry, we know he's been the only 2-time unanimous MVP back-to-back in NBA history. LeBron James has won multiple MVPs and titles. And so, I mean, you're looking at a carousel of players, and who knows what Kevin Durant is going to be. The Slim Reaper is one of the most outstanding assassins in the NBA.
Yeah.
But it's hard to pick. As you say, they all have to be healthy. And we have to see what their teams do production-wise.
Yeah, they got to do their best production-wise. And I know everybody's going to enjoy, hopefully, this weekend. There's a lot of good things going on in the world of baseball. And I don't want to see it come to an end tonight. That would be a shame if baseball comes to an end on Friday. Baseball should be coming to an end on the weekend, if that makes sense to you. So I'm hoping that everybody can survive what's going on in the world of baseball for the Dodgers, and for the Braves, and for the Tampa Bay Rays, and the Houston Astros. I wish you all the best. People, make sure you get out and vote. It doesn't matter what you think. If you don't vote, then you're part of the problem. Everybody has to get out and make their voices heard. Text the word VOTE to 26797. That's 26797, and make your voice heard. Big C, back in the day, There's a man by the name of Drew Boudini Brown. He was known as Muhammad Ali's right-hand man, and he would always tell Ali, with all you got to use, how can you lose? Rumble, young man, rumble. Big C, what are you looking forward to in the sports universe?
Well, Charlton, we've reached a critical mass weekend in football, both college and professional, and a lot of these teams will be eliminated from contention in playoffs in both leagues, Charlton, college and professional. But nobody who's ever eliminated from contention, Charlton, is our frontline healthcare workers.
Yeah.
Our nurses, doctors, our first responders. They're always, with an open mind, taking care of the health of American citizens.
They always do, and you can take care of them too, especially when you wear a mask and wash your hands every Monday through Friday at 5 and 6 p.m. worldwide. You can follow Big C Sports on the Big C Sports Network, on the #1 network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to Big C and them good old boys down south. As we always tell you, that's never, ever an excuse for racism or domestic violence. If you know any man, woman, or child going through that garbage, please pick up the phone and ask for help, because no man, woman, or child should ever have to go through that garbage on their own. And as we always tell you on every Big C Sports show, we thank you, we appreciate you, and we hope that you have a super fantastic day.